It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here alongside Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan, streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app, and also available on our podcast feed, which you can find on 1069thefan.com or on the mobile app, or pretty much wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there. Just search for the Full Court Press, Jason and Eric. Or Eric and Jason. Either of those will probably pull us up.
Search by our names, you'll find us.
That's just the important thing. Know our names. Jason and Eric here on the Full Court Press. Time to dive into Utah State's football game this weekend against Hawaii. We'll be doing our first little dive here. I've been looking hard at the stats, trying to find different trends, things to key in on for the Aggies in this very crucial matchup. What could be one of the first of 6 coin flip games we've come to calling them, as we talked about that last week. How many of these games the rest of the way for the Aggies are expected to be close, and this is one of those. By pretty much every projection I've seen, this is supposed to be a one possession game, so we'll get into that in a second. But also talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. I'll make fun of Eric for a minute. I know
Sad.
you tweeted yesterday like, oh crap, and then I think there was an Aggie fan that was like, wait, what happened?
Wait. What's going on?
Like, no, it's Eric's baseball fandom.
It's just me reacting to baseball.
Yeah, we'll have the stat that blew our mind. We're going to be joined by JD Walker in the second hour, as Eric will sneak his way to Utah State football practice to go talk to D'Angelo Mays and
Junior Sia,
right tackle there. So, but me and JD will get into power rankings for the Mountain West, talk about the Utah Mammoth, NFL, among other things. And I think I already mentioned this. We'll get into the stat that blew our mind and the Full Court Press Players of the Week. Feel free to chime in on any of these topics at 435-339-0321. That's our text line, the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. So, Eric, it's time for Hawaii. Got to travel to 5,000 miles or however long it is to get to the islands.
Yep.
You got to acclimate. It's a long plane ride. I mean, John Miller was talking about wearing the
compression
tights,
the
compression clothing,
compression shirts
to regulate blood flow, and it's like they got to take all this stuff seriously.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, for the flying, the hydration, the weather, the adjusting to the time zone difference, because like 2 or 3 time zones away. It's a tough trip.
It is. It affects you on both sides of your schedule. Thankfully, Utah State had a bye week on the front end, so they can kind of adjust their schedule leading up to it. They can leave Thursday and not have that be, too dramatic on their preparation for Hawaii. But they, they don't get back until like Sunday afternoon. And then on top of that, it's a short week anyway, because San Jose State will be playing on Friday next week for homecoming. So it really, having a game at Hawaii affects you on a lot of different levels. And what's nice here is that Utah State has had their bye week. They can adjust their plan, their preparation, getting ready for Hawaii. They can adjust to travel. I love that they're traveling on Thursday. To get there, to give themselves a little bit more time to acclimate, because we've seen in times past some teams, they will travel on a Friday and then they play Saturday, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and they're still trying to adjust to the time change, and some teams really struggle with those trips to Hawaii. But Utah State, in its history with Hawaii, has had some success on the islands, especially more recently. These two teams were in the WAC before. They've been in the Mountain West together. But Utah State has been able to handle this trip fairly well in the more recent history as they've been members of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, Utah State is currently on an 8-game winning streak against Hawaii. During kind of that WAC era, or at least later in it, from 2005 to 2010, the Aggies were 1-5. But then when this series shifted to the Mountain West, of course, that was also right around 2010, 2011. So that was when Utah State made its kind of switch.
Right.
Because
June Jones was on the way out.
Yeah.
Utah State started to make a resurgence of their own.
So starting in 2011, the Aggies get a 35-31 win, which I believe that win, there's a lot of people that credit a lot of Utah State's resurgence. I think it's to that specific win over Hawaii.
That was a wild, wild game.
Yeah, and that was in Hawaii. They get that 35-31 win, and the Aggies have not lost since. And a lot of lopsided victories, actually. I mean, they win 47-10 in 2013, then 35-14, 38-0, 56-17, 51-31. Last couple years ago was close as 41-34, but then last year, 55-10. And what was one of the worst years in a minute for the Aggies, and that was their biggest margin of victory in the season.
Yeah, here's some from the notes from Utah State. During this current 8-game winning streak against Hawaii, the average margin of victory for Utah State. So they've won 8 straight, and the average margin of victory in those 8 games, 26.5 points.
Yeah.
Utah State has not only just won these games, they have dominated these games. This year could be different, but when you look at the history of Utah State and Hawaii, only 3 have been decided by 1 score. Now, you talk about this being a coin flip game, this could be probably more like these 3 games that stand in isolation over these 20-game or whatever 20-year history between these two schools.
It's 19 total games.
It could be closer to those 3 games that stand in isolation compared to all those others that were decided by double digits.
Yeah, so because Hawaii is looking like a decently tough team. Some of the computer metrics don't like them as much. Though before we get too far into that, I do want to actually bring up this point because we talked about Utah State coming off a bye. Well, so is Hawaii.
True.
Hawaii has also had a bye week, and Bronco Mendenhall was actually asked about this, where both, it's not like one team gets a bye and the other doesn't. It's both these teams are coming off of a bye game. Now I got to turn on the right source. We're running the board here.
I think it's fair, number one, and I think anytime it's possible to have both teams having a bye or neither having a bye, I think that makes it better. Hard to speak for Hawaii and their program in terms of, I believe, coming off Air Force, which it's always nice for them, I'm sure, to come to the mainland, go back, and then not have a game right away, just like it would be for us. And so I think it's probably a nice set point. They've played Fresno State and Air Force, so 2 conference games before they kind of reset for the rest of their season. So they probably feel similarly to us.
Yeah, it's, as Bronco said, it's fair.
Yeah.
You wish fair. It weren't fair. You'd like to have a bye game and then face a team that's not coming off a bye week, but it's fair, and that's the way it's going to be for both of the Aggies games coming off of bye. They'll play Hawaii after both teams had a bye. I believe it's Nevada, I think. Pretty sure it's Nevada. That or it's Fresno State. I suddenly can't remember where their next bye game is at.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But let's get into some of the challenges that Hawaii is going to present. And really, I think it starts with the quarterback and, well, the passing game, which that's kind of been the MO for Hawaii. They have been a pass-heavy team, sometimes to the complete extreme. Like, we've seen Hawaii just abandon the run game, forget it's a thing, like the opposite of Air Force. Just be like, we're just going to throw the ball, and we're going to throw the ball 50, 60 times, whatever it takes. We're going to move this ball up and down the field through the air or die trying.
Right.
And this year's Hawaii team is not quite that. There is a bit more of a commitment to the run, and that's actually something that Bronco Mendenhall touched on, is that Hawaii they're more intentional about running the ball this year.
More intentional this year than ever on running the football. So that was the first thing that I noticed. is their intent to run the football. Obviously, they have a really nice screen game as well, but their intent to run the football, how that's blended and integrated, I would say is at a higher level and more intentional. It's not diminishing or taking away from their ability to throw the ball, but they're more intentional on being able to do that. And I think, again, with the way their defense is playing, I think they feel like they can do that, not have to possibly be quite as wide open as they normally are.
Yeah, so running the ball a bit more than they used to, which is, that's a pretty low bar there. But their run game largely consisting of Landon Sims and Cam Barfield. Those are kind of their two running backs. Micah Alejado will run the ball at times, but I don't know, that seems more like scramble situations. I've not seen them as much with designed runs from him.
Yeah, I watched some of the highlights of the Fresno game and the Air Force game, and there were a few scrambles against Fresno. He didn't have a lot. Of course, that was his first game back after being gone for a couple of games because of injury. But against Air Force, there were a number of designed runs for him. He's not a big guy, but he will occasionally get out there and run, and he'll scramble on a design. But yeah, this is a team that loves to throw the ball around, but a lot of those passes will go to the running backs. I'm impressed with Landon Sims. Like, here's a guy, he's a big body for a running back. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. He's a senior. He's an experienced guy. He's got a developed body, so he's a hard guy to bring down. So he runs the ball very effectively, but they also use him a lot in the screen game. And they'll do a lot of short passes, but it's not just that. Alejado will stretch the field, like he will press the ball downfield. Against Air Force, they had a scoring series that went 24 plays over 80 yards, 12 minutes off the clock, more than 12 minutes off the clock. They pulled an Air Force, like they just methodically went down the field. Everything was dink and dunk, everything was short. But they methodically moved down the field. And then they had a couple other scoring drives that were, 6 plays, 75 yards and pay dirt. So they had a few scoring series that were long and methodical, but they had a couple others where he was pressing the ball downfield. So they have that ability to mix things up a bit, which can keep your defense on its toes.
And they have some diversity in their receiving talent, and that's what kind of allows them to be able to just, throw the ball a bunch of times, but still have it kind of be like a balanced offense. Think, okay, you balance between passing the ball, where you typically think you're pushing the ball downfield, versus running the ball to try and keep defenses honest if they're playing too far back. But Hawaii just seems to, they do run the ball, obviously. It's not like they completely abandon it. Landon Sims has 59 rush attempts in 6 games, 241 yards. But, they'll, go with the short pass game, the long pass game. They have great diversity there. You've mentioned Landon Sims is a guy they'll go to in the short passing game with the screens. One thing I was looking up with their screen game is that I think Alejado ranks, he's like 22nd in the country among quarterbacks in screen pass attempts per game. He's not like the very top, but he's up there. And he's averaging 7.8 yards per attempt on those screen passes where they throw behind the line of scrimmage, and the average is to get 8 yards up the field per attempt. So on the 1 or 2 times maybe it was incomplete, they're still getting it up the field. So they have guys that are capable of getting those yards after the catch. So they do that with the running back game, but then with their receivers, you have guys that can catch it really short and make some things happen. Pofele Ashlock, I'm not sure if I'm saying his first name right.
Yep.
38 receptions. He's not getting tons of yards. In fact, I think his yards after catch per reception is actually kind of terrible. But dude will go out there and get a catch. And he's still averaging 9 yards per reception, which isn't elite, but still catch the ball, you get 9 yards. That's pretty good. I mentioned Landon Sims, who as a running back is averaging 9 yards per reception. A lot of that in the screen game. But you've also, you've got other great receivers. I think Jackson Harris is a guy where I think if I remember right, he was the one that has size. I think he was the 6'3" receiver where he's got a little bit more of a downfield presence. He's averaging 14.2 yards per reception. This is a guy who will get a little further downfield, stretch the field, and one thing that's interesting is that his strongest games of the season were when Alejado was at quarterback. When they had to bring in Luke Weaver, when Alejado went out for like roughly 2 games, like he missed roughly 2 games worth of time across like 3 games because he was in and out of a couple of games. But when Alejado was throwing the ball, I think 13 of his 17 receptions were across the Stanford and Air Force games where Alejado was in for the entire time. And he's also got all 3 of his touchdowns. So he is one of Alejado's better targets, and he's a downfield guy. Well, they have slot receivers and possession guys like Ashlock and running backs like Landon Sims who can make things work in the short game. They've also got guys to stretch the field. And I think that's the thing that kind of makes this Hawaii defense dangerous. Is sure they might
Hawaii
do
offense.
The Hawaii offense. Sorry, did I say defense?
Yeah.
It makes them diverse even when they're one-dimensional, which usually you want to make an offense one-dimensional because then you can bank on the 1 or 2 things they do. Like, if it's the pass game, you can, you can usually shut down the pass game if you really focus on it. But Hawaii has enough ways to make you pay with their pass game. You can't cover the entire field because Hawaii will use the entire dadgum field with their pass game.
Yeah, they will. And Alejado is left-handed, so he'll often, automatically turn and look to the left side of the field and that block off that side of the field and throw in that direction and roll out in that direction. But he's talented enough and skilled enough that he will also check down and look off to his right and roll right sometimes too. And looking at their wide receivers, I mean, they got size and experience all over the place. Carson Pupunu, he's 6'3", 205 pounds. Pofeli Ashlock, 6'2", 185 pounds. Jackson Harris, who you mentioned, 6'3", 205 pounds. And then Tama Uilata, he's 5'11", and he's a freshman, so not as much experience or size there. But and then Brandon White is another one that they'll use. He's smaller. He's only 5'8", but they use him, and he's shown to be pretty effective in certain cases. So the point is that they have a lot of weapons, a lot of experienced guys that they'll go to, and Alejado will spread it around. It's not like take this wide receiver away and you're going to make it tough for Hawaii. You're going to have to make them choose another less experienced, less talented guy. That's not really how it works for Hawaii. They're very balanced, and they've got a lot of talent all over the place. So this is a big game for Utah State's defense to stay true and to be better in their pass protections. Pass defense.
Yeah.
To stay with the different wide receiver options and try to make it tough on Alejado.
Yeah, you mentioned the diversity, the number of receivers who can go out there and catch a pass. Utah State has 4 players that have caught at least 16 passes. Hawaii has 7. And they've got another guy, an 8th player, who has 13 receptions. Yeah. So this is a team that will,
diverse.
Yeah, if you shut down Ashlock, well, they'll feed the ball to Brandon White or Jackson Harris or, again, any one of these guys. And so you've got to be on point. One interesting thing, though, is Micah Alejado. You look at his career so far. You look at his game log. And he's got some pretty dang good games under his belt. You look at actually his first notable snaps actually came against Utah State in that 55-10 win for the Aggies. He completed 11 of 12 passes for 111 yards and a touchdown. Then he goes out and completes 37 of 57 against New Mexico, against Bronco Mendenhall's New Mexico, and has 469 total yards, which remains a career high, 5 touchdowns, also a career high, and no interceptions. Then he, has 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against Stanford. Then he has a 2-game stretch. Arizona, 18 of 31, 58% completion percentage, no touchdowns, and interception. Against Fresno State, completes 59% of his passes for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Then he gets back to business against Air Force, 75% completion, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. There's 2 very different types of games we're seeing from Micah Alejado. So what's been the difference? And that's something that I asked Bronco Mendenhall about. It's like, okay, Micah Alejado's had some absolute bangers, but what about the games where he's not done so well? What has he seen with those that Air Force and Fresno were able to do against Hawaii's pass offense?
Yeah, quite a contrast in the Arizona game. So Arizona, not maybe necessarily the variety of looks that he was seeing, and not necessarily confusion, just really good players on defense, either through pressure or coverage that were making good plays. And then Fresno, there was some deception involved in what they did, and their quarterback, Hawaii's quarterback, is skilled. He's elusive. He throws well. He's confident, and just does a really nice job. And so Fresno, in some critical situations, really their disguise and different things kind of lured him into a few throws. But Arizona, the talent probably, and just players making plays. So two different stories, but those kind of seem as the outliers. More often than not, he's very successful, very consistent, and plays really well.
Yeah, so more often than not, Micah Alejado has played really well.
Right, and he's not a gambler. Like sometimes you watch quarterbacks and they will throw balls hoping that their receivers make a play on the ball and or maybe try to squeeze something in there in a tight window. Alejado and the offensive scheme that Timmy Chang has put together for him is usually there are guys in secure spaces. If he doesn't see him downfield, now he will press it downfield sometimes, but there's a lot that's going on that's within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And so a lot of what he does is, 5 to 10 yards at a time. But he does have some guys that will stretch it. Like there was a series of plays against Air Force that he went deep. And the first one, it was overthrown. There was some good corner or safety protection there. But he went back to it again with a different wide receiver, but pretty much the same play, and hit it. And it was a big, massive, explosive play for them late in the game, which helped secure their margin over Air Force. So there are times where he will press it downfield, and he will give his guys chances to make a play. But he's not one to really kind of gamble on where his throws are.
Yeah.
He finds he's pretty quick to make checkdowns and find other guys that are open and available to him. He's totally fine with going something that's very short gain, but it's something that's maybe more reliable than trying to press it into a tight window.
Yeah, and so the key at that point, and something that I thought was interesting with what Mendenhall said, is that they're able to confuse him, disguise some certain things, because if you make a quarterback think that this is happening, but maybe there's a defensive back lurking around who can jump a pass, the quarterback doesn't think he's gambling. He thinks he's throwing the safe pass. But then suddenly the ball's in the hands of the defense. Now, I don't know if Utah State's going to be creative enough. We've not seen them really fool a whole lot of quarterbacks. That's not been the strength of their defense. But if they can come up with a creative game plan, along with, and this is the key for stopping any quarterback, getting some effective pressure, there's a way to shut down Micah Alejado. There's cases on film. The question will just be, are the Aggies capable enough? Like Bronco said, like Arizona's defense, they just had better players. Utah State does not just have those better players. So they got to go with more of the Fresno model, where it's like, Fresno probably still has better defenders than Utah State does, but they're closer to Utah State than maybe Arizona is. So can Utah State come up with an effective enough game plan to fool Micah Alejado and or get pressure on him, and that'll slow down that pass. Force them incompletions, force them into third and longs where defenders can pin their ears back, get pressure, force bad throws, and either get third down incompletions, or better yet, interceptions and some turnovers.
Well, and that was something else that Fresno did a really good job about in their game against Alejado, is that they made sure that Alejado knew they were there. Like they felt, he felt their presence. Like they were on him. They were, they would hit him every time they had a chance. Nothing like that was late hits or outside the lines, but they were always making their presence felt in his space. And I think that's something Utah State has to do as well. They have to make him feel that pressure and make him think about getting hit, because that will change his internal clock. The Utah State's ability to get pressure on Alejado is paramount. They have to be able to get that pressure on that against that offensive front, which has some experienced guys for Hawaii, but not a ton of experience. So Utah State's defensive front has to be able to create some havoc and disrupt Alejado. Because if we leave it, if it's left just up to the secondary, then Utah State could get picked apart, because that's been a weak point for Utah State. I know they have 5 interceptions on the season, but this is a very efficient quarterback who does not throw very many interceptions at all.
Yeah, it's really hard to just bank entirely on your secondary. You got to have some back and forth with your pass rush helping out defensive backs and vice versa.
Yep.
We got to hit a break. We're a little overdue for one. We're going to talk about Utah State's offense against the Hawaii defense a little bit more. We've gone over and over about this past game of the Warriors. So let's give a bit of an intro to Hawaii's defense, which has put up some much better numbers than we're maybe used to seeing from the Warriors. That discussion's coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah gold medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a heat and glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Hi friends, this is Lydia at The Sportsman on Main Street, inviting you to check out our new fall arrivals. For women, this is our first season carrying Free People movement, and you will love it. We also have great fresh looks from Viore, Pendleton, Cool, and Birkenstock. At The Sportsman, we try really hard to find unique products. For the men, you will love our new shirts, jackets, sweaters, and pants from Cool, Fjallraven, Viore, and Pendleton. From colognes and perfumes to skis, we've got you covered. Come and see us at The Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan and look amazing this fall.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I am a brain cancer survivor. When I was 11 years old, I spent a lot of time at my local children's hospital for brain surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. When I was in the hospital, I had no idea how much the medical bills were costing my family, and the insurance didn't cover all the equipment and treatments I needed. Thanks to donations to my hospital, I received amazing care and was able to kick cancer's butt. Today, I am 16 years old, and I am so excited about my future, where I can graduate from high school and become a professional speaker to share my story and give back to Children's Miracle Network hospitals. I believe if we donate to children's hospitals, we can change kids' health and change the future. You can help too. Give now at childrensmiraclenetworkhospitals.org and put your money where the miracles are. Thank you.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
I think the biggest improvement in Hawaii's program
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I think I tried to play an audio cut just then, and I didn't hear it. So I need to see if
Neither did I.
Yeah, I need to actually see if this works, because I was trying to play a clip from Bronco Mendenhall as he talked about Hawaii's defense, which, as he talked about, had been much improved over recent years, where kind of the stereotype about Hawaii is tons of offense, allow tons of points on defense. And this year, that's not quite as much been the case. Let's see if we can get this working.
I think the biggest improvement in Hawaii's program over Timmy's time there has been the last 2 years defensively. They've done a nice job on defense. They're playing complementary football at a higher level, and even from a year ago to this year, another step in progress. So, I think their program is just headed in the right direction.
It's always something you want to see if your program is to have your team progressing in what are the perceived weaknesses. And just to take a quick glimpse at it, last year Hawaii ranked 75th in points allowed per game. This year they're 69th overall. And I'm taking a quick look at where they rank in yards allowed per game. That's what I forgot to write that. They're 37th in yards allowed per game, whereas last year, again, I forgot to write this down, so I have to look it up, 75th. So they've made a bit of a jump there. And I think run defense is one area where actually I was a bit surprised how well they'd done. You look at Air Force, they allowed 216 yards rushing, but that's actually pretty darn good for Air Force. They did also allow Air Force to throw for 278, which is weird to see Air Force throwing for that many. But then, like, Fresno State, only 71 rushing yards allowed. Portland State, their FCS game, 41. Sam Houston, 79. Like, even with Stanford and Arizona, 177, 183, that's like not like great, but Stanford ran the ball 43 times, so they only averaged 4.1 yards per carry. So, like, the one time that I could say, like, Hawaii was like relatively bad in the run game was against Arizona. They have 5.5 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns. That ain't great. But like the rest of them, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty well in the run game, and that's a big key to having balance. And another thing that Bronco Mendenhall talked about was the physical run defense that Hawaii has been putting out of late.
Sometimes people call it the bear front. Sometimes they call it an odd front. There's mixtures of both with what they do. Not many teams around college football are kind of designed the way they are, so there's a uniqueness to what they do with kind of the physicality and the mindset and the aggression. So I think they're coordinated really well with some uniqueness and some good football players. And that's, again, when you complement that side with some uniqueness to their offense, with some uniqueness, they're starting to blend and to design a really nice program.
There are so many seniors and graduates all over this defense for Hawaii, especially on their defensive front. And these are guys that make plays. Luther McCoy, 6'5", 280 pounds, defensive tackle. Guy just lives in the backfield, and he's always making plays. Jamar Sakona is another one. They've got a lot of big, strong defensive guys on that for their defensive tackles. And they also have very good linebackers. Jemai Otis, 5'11", 220 pounds. This guy's a playmaker. He disrupts. He's had some opportunities to create fumbles and return one for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. But they have a very experienced and physical defensive front.
Yeah, and that's obviously super key for them, where they've made those improvements. The one thing that I'm actually curious about, and this actually applies to the offense too, and we might get into this later. Hawaii has some good numbers on offense and defense, but they've played a fairly weak schedule. It seems to apply to a lot of the Mountain West. Utah State seems to be one of the few that it doesn't apply to, because they played Vanderbilt and Texas A&M.
Right.
Of course, they did poorly against both of those teams, and that's obviously a mark for concern. And Hawaii's done well, but it's been against opponents that haven't been particularly strong on offense. I was jotting down some numbers. Like, you look at, okay, these are some of the offenses that they've played. They played Stanford, who I'm using the FEI analytics, their offensive and defensive rankings, which do a bunch of things with success rates, and this also factors in, and they have strength of opponent defense metrics, but they have Stanford ranked as the 91st offense. Hawaii allows 20 points. That's solid. Arizona, 62 on offense, 62nd. It's okay. It's mediocre. They all have 40 points to Arizona. Sam Houston, 134th, third worst. They allow 20 points to Sam Houston. Fresno State, 106th in offense. They allow 23 points to them. And then Air Force ranks 35th in offense, and Hawaii allows 35 points. So it's like they've done all right on defense. They've really only had 2 games where I think the opposing offense really opened them up. That's Air Force and Arizona. But those are also like the only 2 decent offenses they've faced. And both of them lit them up a little bit. And Utah State, they're similar to Arizona. Arizona's ranked 62nd in this metric. Utah State's ranked 60th. So the Aggies, I think, have the offensive tools to open things up and get some points on Hawaii.
Yeah, I think they can. I saw there were stretches against watching the Air Force game that Air Force is able to gash Hawaii a number of times. Now, I get it. Air Force is a little bit of an outlier, but where both teams face the same team, you can maybe learn a few things from that. But Air Force, not only do they have strong running game, and of course they're very disciplined in their blocking schemes, but Liam Zarka was able to gash them in the passing game. Like, they had a number of big pass plays, big explosive pass plays against Hawaii, where they were not able to to handle some of the passing from Air Force in that game.
Yeah,
if Air Force is able to have a good passing attack against Hawaii, I'm confident Utah State can have a good passing attack against Hawaii.
Yeah, Air Force averaged 21.4 yards per attempt. Like, usually you can sometimes get that in yards per completion. They had yards per attempt, 21 and a half yards per attempt, which is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
And other teams have had decent success throwing against them, where they complete north of 60% of their passes, have good yards per attempt, get passing touchdowns. So I think there is, despite some of the improvement, Bronco talks about the improvement, and there is some there. Like, normally Hawaii, whether you were good or bad, they would probably give up a lot of rushing yards and a lot of passing yards to you. This year, when playing bad offenses, they are seeing success. That is improvement. That is a higher caliber defense. But I think it might be similar to Utah State's, where the Aggies, when they played an FCS team, they held them to 7 points and looked really dang good. When they played UTEP, who, by the same metric I'm using, is dead last in offense, they looked pretty decent, held them to 16 points. When they played a really good offense in Vanderbilt, A&M, they got gashed. And, with Air Force, they give up 30 points, which, honestly, weirdly enough, that might be Utah State's best defensive performance is against Air Force when all the context is added into it. But I think that's where Hawaii's defense may be, where if you really push up against it and go hard against it, there are weaknesses that you can find. There are ways that you can go out there and get a lot of yards. And I think if Bryson Barnes is healthy, and that's going to be a big key, there are a lot of yards and a lot of points for the Aggies to unlock. 40-plus points, I think, is a very realistic marker for the Aggies to reach. Or at least, 35 to 40 points is a pretty realistic marker. Whether they get over that, we'll see. That's a matter for game day. But the whole thing with Bryson Barnes, it's like, we don't know if he's going to be healthy.
Right. A lot of it does depend on Bryson Barnes under center. Because we saw Conover for a decent amount at Vanderbilt, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. But there's a reason Bryson Barnes is the starter and Conover is not. And Utah State can be more effective with Bryson Barnes. As Coach Mendenhall said, like he uses his feet to cover up a lot of other deficiencies because he's able to extend plays or create yards because of his other scrambling ability. And Conover's not really known to be quite that dynamic.
Yeah, and so I know we played this yesterday, but it's worth jumping back into just to get Bronco's thoughts on what Conover being at quarterback would look like and some of the other things they may end up having to do.
Right. And if the offense needs to change with Conover under center.
Yeah, if it needs to change a little bit.
We'd prefer it not. We'd prefer it to be Jacob as much as possible. We know Bryson, right, moves the ball many times and corrects mistakes with his legs, so there'd be a little bit less of that. And we probably have to find other ways to be able to manufacture that. But we have a lot of confidence in Jacob, and if Bryson's not able to go, it would be Jacob's role to have, and he would be backed up by C.J. Tiller. And then you'd probably see Anthony Garcia's role kind of expand somewhere between more athlete besides just receiver.
Yeah, so if Conover has to come in, I think you see the pass game not really be altered that much really at all. But the things that Utah State does in the run game, I think that changes a lot. Because Bryson Barnes has a big impact in the run game, and that's something that I think the Aggies are really going to need, because you've got a Hawaii defense that's done pretty well in rushing the ball, and Utah State doesn't have an elite rush offense where, Arizona, I think, has at least a pretty solid one. They're able to just kind of overpower Hawaii's defense, but nobody else has really been able to open up that Hawaii defense in terms of running the ball. And so you've got to be able to find a way to work that in there to have a balanced offense. Otherwise, you run the risk of yourselves being one-dimensional. So Bryson Barnes could have a huge impact in giving the Aggies a more dynamic run game. So that would hurt there. But, I think the pass game would still survive for the most part, relatively untouched.
Yeah, but establishing a solid run game is so crucial for Utah State in this game. Whether it's Bryson Barnes under center or Jacob Conover, because Hawaii, they have to be able to soften up that Hawaii defense some. They have to be able to get yards and move guys off the block. Utah State has to be able to impose its will in the trenches, because that's going to open up so many other things for Utah State. I think Hawaii has some big physical backs. Utah State does not have a big physical back, but it does not mean that they can't be physical in the run game. They're using your tight ends as lead blockers, having cross blocking schemes with your offensive lines, creating gaps and creating space, and then letting the quick running backs, Miles Davis and David Jacobs, do their thing. Giving them some space to work can really help Utah State spread things out and keep Hawaii on their toes, on their back heels, I should say.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to temporarily move away from talking Utah State, Hawaii football. We got to talk Major League Baseball playoffs. Eric's favorite thing to talk about.
It's going to make me sad.
We're talking about football, and now Eric's going to be depressed.
Why do you got to bring me down?
Well, we got to do it somehow. That's my job, to make everyone. That's why I make fun of Stockton, because he's a Falcons fan and I'm a Patriots fan. There's endless possibilities there. So we'll get to that next here on the Full Court Press.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm with down home country prices and big city selection. E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm. Low overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. The Medicare annual enrollment period is here, and now's your chance to compare plans and get coverage that really works for you. Whether it's a Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage plan, or a prescription drug plan, we'll walk you through your options personally. Call 752-9493 to speak with a licensed agent right here in Cache Valley. No pressure, no cost, just local help you can count on. Don't wait. Annual enrollment ends December 7th. Call LSS Insurance 752-9493.
Addiction does not discriminate. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you're not alone. There is hope out there. Renaissance Ranch has been teaming up to provide a place for healing. They understand themselves how powerful it is to overcome addiction. If you've lost hope or if you're scared for someone you love, there is a way back. Renaissance Ranch is there to help you out. You can learn more by going to renaissanceranch.net or visiting their location right here in Logan.
Looking for a luxurious local space to host your next gathering? The Hive Event Center in downtown Logan brings modern elegance to your wedding, private party, or business event. Your guests will be amazed at the glamorous design, and you'll benefit from the advanced tech included in every rental, from DIY parties to full service packages. 255 South Main in Logan behind Beehive Grill. Luxury lives here. The Hive is your place to gather.
Luxury lives here. Luxury lives here. The Hive.
See us online at thehivelogan.com.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Keep your car running at its best with help from Napa Auto Parts. Need a new battery or wiper blades? Napa has the best brands and can even help you with installation right on the spot at the store. I know we need that. One time me and my brother spent like 20 minutes trying to install his wiper blades that we bought from Walmart. And that was a fun adventure.
Learn the hard way, Jason.
Yeah, but you can get a Napa Legend or Napa AAA batteries, and they can even test yours to make sure it actually needs to be replaced. You got to get that figured out before the cold weather really hits. You don't want to be stranded with a dead battery. And if you need a local mechanic you can trust, visit a locally owned Napa Auto Care Center. Find one at napaonline.com or talk to them at any one of their Preston to Providence locally owned Napa Auto Parts locations. You may have heard him in the background just now. We welcome J.D. Walker to the show. Trying to see him over the computer monitors.
Howdy, everybody. It's good to be here with you guys on the Full Court Press.
Yeah, fun. Eric's going to sneak out, so JD's coming in to help me bring some flavor to the show.
That's what you are. You're flavored.
I'm bringing Tony's Creole seasoning to the show. That's the seasoning of the week here in Utah.
As opposed to like the whitest whites that me and Eric got. Just the bland. Helping us out on the Full Court Press, the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 2444, texting in saying, on the subject of Utah State versus Hawaii football, saying the last USU-Hawaii football game that I attended in person before moving out of state was in 2017, and what a game that was. The Aggies absolutely dominated Hawaii en route to a 38-0 victory, becoming bowl eligible in year one with Jordan Love as the starter. I think really gaining tremendous momentum with the returning core of players to what would eventually be an amazing 2018 season. So many of the Aggies' wins against Hawaii since then have also been lopsided. I would love to see another big one on Saturday night. If Barnes is healthy, I like our chances. I just don't think that Hawaii's defense will be able to slow down our offense, and I think our defense can be opportunistic enough to slow down Alejado and perhaps create a couple of turnovers. Can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Make sure you take a good nap in the middle of the day. Have some snacks and caffeinated beverages to stay up and watch it. But yeah, look, I think Utah State has opportunities here. I do. I think it may come down to what I find out today, later this afternoon, whether Bryson Barnes is going to be the QB or not. But with Jacob Conover, he showed that he can manage the offense. But can he win the game? That's where I just don't know. We have very limited sample size over his body of work because he hasn't really played a lot of Division I snaps. And so it's there's a big mystery there. If it's Bryson Barnes, I like Utah State's chances. If it's not, buckle up.
Yeah, could be a really exciting one. But yeah, the Aggies have had a lot of success, and that could very well continue. I guess the difference there is I think we're pretty confident that Utah State plays well against Hawaii, and that the offense, even if it's Jacob Conover, it's still going to be pretty successful. But the linchpin is the defense.
I love you guys. You're both so grounded, and you've got arguments that the jury would, convict, 100 out of 100 times. And it really allows me to be the hometown homer over here because I don't think Hawaii 5-0 was just a TV show. I think it's going to be what the Aggies offense does. Looking at who we've faced, I know you guys heard about the offense. I heard you guys talked about the offense against the big SEC teams. I feel like this team and the mindset that Coach Mendenhall's bringing is iron sharpens iron. I think the Aggies are going to be better from that offense going up against those two defenses. And just looking at it from the Hawaii perspective, as I've been researching on the other side, some of the people that cover the team feel like they might be a little overconfident with how far they end. So it'll be an interesting matchup, but I think it'll be a shootout.
Right. I think you're probably right. This could come down to, as somebody who we visited with on Monday said, I think first team to 45 wins this game.
Yeah.
And he may not be wrong.
Yeah.
My gut check, real quick, I'm probably going to change this. My first thought on the score prediction was like 40-37. I'm probably going to tinker with that a little bit, and both scores might have been to the 40s by the time I'm done with it, and whether or not Bryson Barnes is on the availability report. But we're a bit overdue for a break. We got to hit one more of those. We'll finish up the first hour here on the Full Court Press.
Hey, this is Jarek with Jarek's Fine Jewelry. This October marks our 17th year anniversary.
So to celebrate, we want to treat you to an anniversary date. Make it a date night on us. Come engagement ring or anniversary ring shopping at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. We have thousands of designs to choose from, including the newest custom designs. With no strings attached and no purchase necessary,
We will buy you dinner at Sweeto Burrito the entire month of October. Come engagement ring or anniversary ring shopping, and date night is on us. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Need a great deal near USU? Mention Aggie 79 and score a room at the Baum Motel for just $79. Enjoy charming, homey hospitality in downtown Logan. You'll love the clean, spacious rooms and friendly, attentive staff. Take advantage of free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and a seasonal outdoor pool. At that price, it can't be beat. $79 rooms with Aggie 79 at the Baum Motel. Value every day of the week. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Doing some off-air sleuthing, Eric, noticing the point spread, the spread for these two teams is moved by like went from Utah State, the underdog,
with Hawaii.
Utah State the favorite, and now Utah State is.
Yeah, now the Aggies are the favorite team.
That mean Bryson Barnes is going to play? Ooh. Somebody got that insider
might
info.
Know something.
It's Eric. He texted his buddies in Vegas. His associates. I keep
because
forgetting.
they snuck into practice.
Yeah, he snuck into practice. I keep forgetting to turn JD's mic on. I'm not used to turning 3 microphones on. But he'll be joining us for the entirety of the second hour as Utah State, Eric. I can't talk right now. Eric's going to sneak into Utah State practice.
No, once it's over.
Once they're all done, he's going to sneak into Maverick Stadium.
Right, yeah.
We have a little bit of time here to talk some baseball. Also, the stat that blew our mind. I forgot to come up with one, so Eric and JD are actually going to help me out here. Eric, why don't you go ahead and actually start with your stat? It's baseball related.
It's baseball related, so it helps cover the topic. Cubs are the first team in Major League Baseball postseason history to hit a 3-run home run or grand slam in the first inning, but not score again after that and lose the game. But wait, there's more. Oh. The Cubs lost the series opener 9-3, though they out-homered the Brewers 3-0. It's the first time in Major League Baseball history that a team lost a postseason game by a 6-run or larger margin, despite hitting at least 3 home runs or 3 more home runs than their opponent.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I didn't even have to know what your Twitter update was yesterday when I saw it. I immediately I knew it.
That was a bad 4th inning. Yeah.
Yeah, I assume because he said something like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah,
and then some Aggie fans were like, "What happened, Eric?"
Yeah, Bryson Barnes. What's going on?
It's like no. And it's like when you said that, I was like,
Cubs.
when you said that, I immediately went and looked at what the Cubs were doing, and I was like, "Yeah, that checks out."
Yeah.
So, JD, you said you also had one.
Real quick here, this one coming from Fanatics, who holds the jerseys for the NHL. Who are the off-season leaders, the top selling? Kirill Kaprizov, Alex Ovechkin, Dylan Larkin, and Clayton Keller, number 4 in off-season sales, according to Fanatics. So hockey taking over.
Wow.
Jazz,
Pretty
here's
cool.
the mammoth. They got those jersey sales.
Yes.
So let's do a real quick update. I know there's one game that's supposed to be happening right now. JD's wearing the jersey of his team that is currently not playing right now, even though they should be.
Yeah, or rain delayed in Detroit. It looks like they were going to start maybe 30 minutes, hopefully.
That's what I got told for like 2 hours at the Logan game on Friday.
Dude, you're such a rock star for hanging out, man. That was awesome.
Yankees and Blue Jays are supposed to start at 6, also on FS1. So someone's got to move off channel.
Oh, they're not even. The Yankees lost already. I'm sorry, Craig, if you're listening, my friend, but
they're down.
That game's already over.
Yeah, Yankees down 2-0 to Toronto.
The Blue Jays outscored like 4 NFL teams this past weekend in their game. It was nuts.
All right, that's going to do it for us here in the first hour. Make sure to stick around. Me and JD hanging out. We're going to talk more. We're going to talk Mountain West football, among other things, here on the Full Court Press. Don't go away.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Chiefs have spent the better part of a decade as the NFL's gold standard, a model of stability. And with Patrick Mahomes under center, Andy Reid still calling plays, a defense that's been among the league's best this season, they should be dominating. But after last night's 3-point loss to Jacksonville, the Chiefs are suddenly 2-3, and for the first time in years, there are questions. Is it the offensive line, the lack of reliable receivers? Whatever the case, something's off in Kansas City. And then there's Jacksonville, a team that refuses to go away. Back-to-back wins over the Niners and Chiefs have vaulted them to a 4-1 record. Trevor Lawrence, steady, defense opportunistic, and Liam Cohen's team looks battle-tested. So what is the truth? Chiefs are slipping, Jags on the rise? After Monday night, it's hard to tell. But one thing is for certain, that gap between the Chiefs and the rest of the AFC no longer as wide as it used to be. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.